I don't want to.
I was starting because Mark's talking about a thing. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whoever you might be in the world. We've started 1 minute and 40, I think it was early. But apparently Hobby King's leaving the UK. And I would actually say Hobby King's leaving.
The King has left the building.
Yeah.
It was quite intriguing. So on Hobby King, I decided, I saw the news they were going. I thought, I'll nip over to the site. This was Saturday. I think Saturday evening, I nipped over and I started looking through some of the stuff. And they had a charger. It's a dual port one. The typical dual port charging, just a different brand name. It's all got the same firmware in them as they do. And I went, right, I'll have that. It's £30 or $29.95 or something like that from 104. I thought, right, I'll order that. And I ordered some other bits. And then all of a sudden, I get an email yesterday, the charger I don't get. So they
you don't get it? It's not coming.
No, it's not coming. The charger that I wanted for £30 instead of 104, they cancelled that. I'm getting the rest of it, and I've seen other people are getting the charger, but it looks like I was a bit late. But then on Sunday...
Or it's just the way you put a really, really big bargain up there and people go, oh, yeah, I want that. And they order that. Oh, while I'm here, I'll get this, that, and the other, which isn't quite as good a discount. It's, basically drags you in.
Guess what you got?
Bait and switch. Yeah.
You've got the this, that, and the other. Yeah.
Yeah. And then what I did is on Sunday, the Hobby King UK just disappeared. The shop for Hobby King on Sunday was gone. So Saturday it was like live, and then Sunday disappeared. And then it came up. It's now shutting. Looks like it's shutting down and it's going out of the UK. But sounds of it, you two are not surprised.
Well, they have to sell all the shops to pay the bill to the FCC, don't they?
Well, they do $2.8 million. Was it 2.8 or 1.8?
It's a lot of money.
Apparently, it's been too long. Hey, Kevin, we started
early. You can
early.
get cream for that. You can get a cream and a special treatment.
It's been too long, yeah. Oh, that's what. Yeah, that's right. That's what does that. Yeah. Kevin's too. How are you, mate?
Oh, I'm doing well. I'm just.
Very good. We were just discussing. We started early because Mark started talking about the fact that Hobby King had a warehouse in the UK and they've closed it basically over the weekend. But Bruce and I think Hobby King, she has gone. Because they have to pay you lot, the FCC, too much money. That's really old.
Where are you guys going to go? Where are you guys going to go? If where's your main sources? If
I haven't shopped here in Africa at Hobby King for I don't know. I want to say 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, 4 or 5 years for me too.
Yeah, largely because the shipping just became ridiculous. They put a big bargain up, and the shipping to get here cost a fortune, and B took months and months and months and months and months. So it's like, yeah, I'm afraid it's sort of horrible to say in a lot of ways that Banggood became the easy one go to for me. Banggood stuff gets here with, AliExpress doesn't work so well here, but Banggood gets here within 3 weeks normally.
Well, we're spoiled with Amazon, almost same day. So you can get a bunch of products there now. You can get all the 2.0s and cubes and all that are available on Amazon.
Yeah, but they flat just don't deliver here to Africa because of the theft. Well, to this part of Africa, they just plain don't come here. It'd be Is it still that quick though at the moment with the shipping problems? I wonder.
I'd say 85% of everything's still Prime, and that's a couple days.
I have no experience of delivery like that.
Yeah,
once Amazon's drone deliveries kick in, it'll be even quicker.
Oh, stop it!
Oh, yeah,
stop it with that fantasy world. No, when I was off singing in California, it was you can get it same day. If you order before 10 a.m., you pick it up for 2.
Wow. Yeah. I have zero. I don't know what that looks like. I can't.
It looks like lazy and entitlement. That's what it looks like. It's one of the laziest ways to get anything you want at the touch of your fingers, and it's kind of bad. Add to cart is definitely a therapy session, but when you can get things that quick, it changes things.
do you pay a premium? Can you pay less for delivery and get it delivered the day after? Or
I've seen the option where I can click and it says like standard and it be like a day or two longer. But why would you do such a thing, Gary?
well, I suppose, but and also I suppose there'll be a great swathe of people that occasionally come here and watch this that live in the real world that won't understand why I don't understand how it works.
I don't understand how it works. Well, I don't understand how people believe drone delivery is going to work either. But there's a lot of money in it.
Oh no, it must work because we've seen the renders, we've seen the venture capital.
Those are amazing
money
renders.
that's been. Yeah, we've seen it all. So it absolutely must work.
And I'm sure all of you are aware. November 8th, the travel ban's lifted in the United States.
Where's the United States? I think I've heard of that.
It's off the coast of Cuba, I think.
Is it? Ah, okay.
Just north. Just north.
Just north. Ah,
yeah.
right.
Yeah. Also considered South Canada.
So yeah, that's a better one.
It's a province of Canada, eh?
Hey,
it's just like New Zealand's mini Australia, right?
Yeah, well, when the tide's out, you can walk across, can't you? So
there's no need to build that bridge after all.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dan's saying, don't get me started on the last mile, says Dan. Yeah, surely that ship has, the wrong metaphor to pull out there, but surely that ship has sailed. Nobody can believe in last mile now, can they, for drones? Surely.
I don't know. There's there was a tremendous amount of effort towards what the future communities look like. So, when you look at different planners and community builders updating central squares and towns, they kind of are looking at that. And if you imagine some of the suburban sprawl that's happening, what would it look like if you created some sort of a hub that would make it more effective? So, you'd have like this community that had a clubhouse and a pool. They would also have like an Amazon delivery hub, or, the other companies that are very effective at that, where it would be a mail delivery box that would do all the different community houses. So, that kind of is where that would make sense if you build up to it now. But to integrate into what we have, that's where that conversation gets too close to reality.
As John says, though, last mile robotics for sure, but just not flying. And
John's pretty. I think that, and all of us on this call have talked about it before. I definitely agree that the technology, when it comes to, the carbon footprints, what's tried and true, mopeds, pedal power, you just can't compete dollars and cents. That's really what it doesn't make sense there. So literally.
In the UK, we just haven't got space anyway, not even for these communities. We've got ancient towns and cities that are so old, you can't suddenly put something in the middle of them.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And if you look at it in the next 10 years, what's the next going to be anyway? Is it going to be a drone delivery? I want to, like, as you've said before, I welcome those robot overlords. I don't think it's on the feasibility map at the moment.
No. Now, I wanted to turn this to things that have made me angry this week. And one that made me really angry yesterday was yet another company claiming if I do have a bit of a naughty list for SUS News, I sort of not really, but in my head, I remember companies that make outlandish claims. And one way of starting to get on that list is by putting the words world record on any image. It's just nonsense. And there was a Canadian company spoke about their BV loss flying, because now we have to say BV loss. And it's like, even in South Africa, we can legally, with the correct equipment on board, and in most of the country, fly out to 15 kilometers. So that's a 30-kilometer, radius. So this company is going on about, whoa, look how good we are. We've done X hectares. It's like, no, X acres, because acres is always a bigger number than hectares. And it's like, well, hang on a minute. You can do that day to day here. You can do 17,000 hectares. It's a bigger number, Mark. It looks bigger. It doesn't mean it's bigger. It just looks bigger. And it's like, well, that's rubbish. That's legal here. And there's loads of other companies. And then they said, thanks for your opinion. You're in Africa. Your rules are slack, and it's not as hard as it is here. It's like, what? That's just, Anyway, that's the first thing that really annoyed me. If anyone would like to stop me being annoyed about that now, you are very welcome. If you would like to chip in and save the day.
No.
No. Go ahead.
Just chuck a believer in the air and walk away. That's what I say.
Well, this is exactly it. They're going on about it. And we flew for 12 hours. It's like, well, hang on a minute. We can fly with the believer for 5 hours. And that's a single flight. And I thought,
I think people need to do a little more research. That don't sound like records at all compared to what's been being done for many, many, many years, especially in Canada. Transport Canada has one of the most progressive support of beyond visual line of sight, and there's a lot of precedents already done with their approved vendors. So I don't know how that's a world record.
But instantly, if you are a grown up in any field, in anything that you do, if someone puts world record on an image, if you make the world's largest cabbage or the longest carrot or whatever it is, you're gonna bring it subject to issues. It's a bit like 2 weeks ago, the company that claimed a world record for a HAPS platform, and when you looked at it, they claimed the record was ratified by the AMA. So they've claimed a model aircraft record for their HAPS platform. I was like, okay. and of course you can't, in the HAPS world, you can't beat Zephyr. You cannot beat it at the moment. And Zephyr is...
What was Zephyr's time, the last one that it flew?
Last one,
it was like 3 days or something, right?
No, it's 32 days.
32 days. Yeah, that's right.
It's 32 days, but that's what they're telling me. But if you ask around, some people will tell you, actually, it's done a few 6-month flights.
Yeah.
it's so the ones they're only claiming the ones they want to tell you about, and they're only claiming them when there's a show on, and they're only telling you, I'm on my ranty horse. Bruce, save me. Save me, Bruce. Save me. Take me away from my ranty horse.
No,
what's the distance in New Zealand, Bruce? What's the maximum beyond visual line of sight that's been marked and proven flown in New Zealand?
You're not allowed to fly beyond visual line of sight here.
Okay. But with the CAA approvals and the blessings of your PM, what is the longest or furthest someone's ever flown?
I've no idea. I've seen some 20K flights unofficially, but I'm sure there's been longer than that.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean like time, duration, or distance?
Both.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't abide with these people that break the rules.
But it just blows my mind. It blows my mind that people make such outrageous claims that are easy to shoot down. And if you are going to buy a platform from this company, you're going to do your due diligence and make sure before you buy that platform that what they say is the truth. And if they make something that's so out of line, surely that'll put them at the back of the list. Or is that just me?
It's probably just you.
It's probably just me. It's fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. And John said, we're using the same motors, batteries, radio frequencies. I suppose, basically, yes. Probably, very, very probably. I wanted to mention also that, and I don't know if I can now, now that you're here, you're here. I wanted to mention that that Parrot sold Sensefly, which I find quite extreme.
I am no longer affiliated with Parrot. I no longer work for Parrot. I am freelance and have nothing to do with any organization at the moment.
But does that say then, to me, instantly that's what I was surprised when I saw that today, and then I've thought about it a bit. Does that mean that Parrot think that size small wing is meh now? I suspect their new Anafi AI can probably do most of the work that wing can do, because its figures are only. Oh, you've flown the Sensefly a bit, I think, Mark, haven't you? And it only makes big numbers if you're flying it very, very high. Otherwise, once again, launch the Believer.
It's. Don't get me wrong. The best thing about the Parrot, the EB, is the software that programs it. eMotion is brilliant. You know, it loads. You shoot the aircraft. The worst thing about an EB is they are self-destroying. The service centres will be laughing because after about 120 hours or so, the underside of an EB starts to get damaged, and eventually it'll say, "Send me for a service." And that's when basically the service centre coins it in, you know, and Sensefly probably coins it from some of the parts. That's the worst thing about the EB. It's self-destroying, but you can only do.
Does it say send me in based on condition that in some way
It doesn't know its condition,
or it's just 120 hours or whatever?
Yeah, it just starts saying 120 hours, service me, which is about 120 flights because it can nearly well, it'd be just over because it can fly depending on the conditions for about 45 to 50 minutes. Don't get me wrong, you can actually buy a foam wing, though. The amazing thing is, right, an EB with a soda in it costs, what, 20 grand? Or something?
Does it?
It does in
what,
the UK.
UK grands? £20,000?
Something like that. Or is it 18? It might be.
I believe it's £16.99.
Oh, there you go. 17 grand.
Link in the description.
Yeah,
link in the
description.
Yeah, that's right. In the description. Yeah. Why would now?
Amazon Prime shipping 2 days, no problem.
Yeah, there we are. Yes, there we are. Doesn't it fly to you?
That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
You order your drone, it delivers itself. Yeah, so the EB is really nice. But you know, if you went on Banggood to look for a 1 meter foam,
well, let's
wing,
do it. I'm going to do it. You keep talking. I'm going to do it.
Right. So you're going to buy a foam wing of Banggood or that place called Hobby King.
Some other place, Amazon or whatever. Yes.
Yeah. So you're going to buy it's about a 1.2 to 1 meter wing, which is what I think it's about 900 mil, isn't it? The actual EB, I think it's about just under. But anyway, so you're going to buy your piece of foam for £100 or £150. You're then going to need a flight controller. So if we're going to be generous, we'll put a mini pix in it, or we're going to put a cube in it.
No, we're going to go be cheap as chips. So we're going to get a Matic board in there. Why on earth did we go?
So you're not going to put
it has to be on par, though. He was saying emotion, and he loved it, and all that. So you're going to have to add a little bling to it.
You're going to have to put a mini pix, aren't you? Really, a pix for it, really.
Why? Why am I going to have to do that?
2,000 3,500 will get you operational, all in. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll lend you a nice 32 revision 5.
Yeah. Why are you making me spend so much money on this thing? A Matic board.
He's spending your money. That's why, Gary. That's your money he's spending. That's why.
Oh. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, hold on. When you look at what it is, though, like the EB, all of the Sensefly products are fantastic. They're dependable. They've got more hours on them than anything else out right now. Let's see. Well, the costs are affordable. You know, starting in 2014 and 15, that was, hey, you wanted to map a quarry, that's what you used, and it always does its job. You know, and you're right, 120 hours, that's incredible. You know what I mean? Like, if it gets that far, because if it survives.
What do you mean that's incredible? I don't even talk about.
Well, Mark knows what I'm talking about. It's incredible because.
They don't. So an EB, what you do is you tell it where you want it to land. So you'll give it a landing spot. But the problem is with an EB, it doesn't hit the exact spot because it's got a radius circle, and I think you can change it. But let's say it's a 20-meter circle. It's going to try to hit the middle of the circle. But if there's no wind or it's windy, makes a difference. So it's coming into land, you choose your vector you're coming in. So if there's no wind, it'll overshoot its landing spot, goes in a hedge. So therefore, it's getting damage from hitting the bottom of a hedge. If it's landing before it or there's a rock on the ground, unlike a multi-rotor where you can change it easily to avoid that rock, EB, you don't get that kind of option because what it does is it comes into land, it flares itself, stalls, and just falls out the sky. And if it thinks it's at the wrong height or anything, they just self-destroying. They have this bit of plastic protection under them, but that just gets battered. Battered.
If you took milk jugs and you cut slices of milk jug, that's a really good way to keep some of that together.
When I spent £17,000 on a thing, I always go and find a milk jug. If you're in the field, you find whatever it takes to make sure that you can finish those missions and get you another 3 days to a week of flights and whatever that is. The duct tape, speed tape,
the glue,
whatever you want, the glue. You need to make sure you have it. JB Weld, things like that make that aircraft stay in the air. But the reasoning and talking about faith and behind that, when you look at what Parrot as an organization and a company is, and you look at some of these, as someone mentioned in the comments, with silos, it's an amazing overall brand. Individually, when you look at what's being introduced from Parrot and you look at where that trajectory is on where things are going, it's not a shock that, first Mica Sense and then now Sensefly are being spun off. You look at it from a revenue generator, especially now it's a shipping and productions might be in question. It's a way to keep things moving, the ball going in the right direction. So to say that the faith was lost on, single wing foam aircraft, maybe not. Maybe it's just an opportunity for them to focus what they're trying to do. I can see it as helping things really overall because I don't know what the situation is at Ag Eagle measure. What is 59 rand? What is that, like $30?
5,900 rand. Let me check.
Carry the one.
Let me just. It's 5,900. I'm just checking it now. $406. And they fly for.
There you go.
This many hours.
And as a
many hours. And these fly with a proper camera on them, don't they? Oh, Mark, there's one there. What have you got on yours, Mark?
It did have a nice camera until it died on me.
Yeah, so you put the Sony. What's the thing? I can't remember the name.
A7R Mark II.
A7R. Yeah, but you can put
A6000.
And my fat fingers can still get there and
you love the Believer, man. You guys are huge supporters of that platform.
Yes. I am surprised.
I think it's the best platform you can get, and that's that. I
think coupled with a hair link, couple that with a hair link, which mine is, I think I just don't understand why there's not more. Why no one's just bought a load and literally doing these as a machine to sell off the shelf.
There are a few places doing that, not many, and a few people claiming that it's their airframe. But
no, they shouldn't.
Well, they bought it.
Yeah, they bought it. That's true.
I mean, there's a box. There's a box of a brand new one down there, and there's another one upstairs that's half built. I mean, it just cruises, and because you've got two motors, you've got redundancy. I would love to see Sensefly maybe enter the VTOL market and come up with a nice little VTOL.
They could have done that, or they could have gone into the Believer. They left a huge gap for the Chinese to creep up into. And
here's the thing that people don't necessarily get with a Believer is you can put a range sensor on it so it can land a lot better. But not only can it carry a Sony A7 in it, if you wanted to, you could put a red edge in at the same time. It's big enough to carry both payloads. It doesn't care. This thing is absolutely, I love it. The glide is ridiculous. The glide ratio is just stupid. Where your planet's landing, you have to think 500 meters out for the approach for the turn to come in.
Yeah, that might be its problem. In that you have to know what you're doing. But as long as you know what you're doing, you can stand off. That's again one of these bloody BVLOS bloody posts. You can, you can take off 10 kilometers away from where you need to survey, or 100 kilometers away, allegedly, from where you need to survey, or you could do round robin surveys of 300 kilometers, allegedly. But you can stand off. And so you put yourself in a suitable place to take off and land. You plan your takeoff and landing. And then we put a hat down and we try and hit the hat from our landings after a 4-hour flight. You know,
take it off your head first, eh?
Yeah.
But it is an astounding airframe. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I mean, I've only flown mine. This hasn't done the hours that you guys have done on it, Gary. But it's just. And the worst bit was, I think, was launching this to begin with. Until you put the shake to throw in, it's a pig. You have to have that for one person. And the first time you do it, when both motor motors start, you've got 5.5 kilos in your hand and you're chucking it. It's like,
well, again, that perhaps is another issue with it, in that you probably have flown model airplanes a little bit, so you know how to chuck a model airplane.
Yeah, but if you haven't done that, there's other airframes like the Altavian Nova and things like that are not foam, and those really weigh down pretty quickly. That's when that countdown stops, you're kind of like, wait a second, what just happened?
Never underestimate the utility of a trebuchet in the drone community.
What I can say though is, even if there's no wind, when this thing powers up and it says, I want to go, you don't have to throw this hard.
No, but you just angle the tackle. I've seen people hoy as they do with model aircraft, as Bruce's video shows week after week.
Throwing like a girl, throwing like
this, or like this, or throwing like this. It's not going to work.
It's usually just dropping it and walking away at Air Club.
Yeah. You just got to keep her slightly nose up, maybe 10 or 20 degrees, if that, shake it, you'll feel her start, and if she wants to leave, you let her leave. You just give her the push out of your hands and she just goes. And it's a monster.
You should not use those pronouns. There's no gender these days. Not she.
It's a monster.
You can't use gender. No.
I can, because when it plays up, it's a right little B.
Oh, I know. Steady.
I'm sorry, but to me, everything mechanical, of course, is a female, and that's just the way the world is. Everyone's going to shoot me.
Do you still post these streams as YouTube's kids content, Gary? Or?
Yeah, I do. I do. It's all right. YouTube doesn't even know we're here. Have we unpacked the EB enough? Is this the end of the small flying wing?
No, because let's face it, the EB is, if you've got to trek to somewhere, so let's say there are certain places where you want to go in the world, and you want to go up a big mountain or a big hill or something, you want to trek up there because you're daft, the EB wins because it'll fit, and it has a rucksack. You can get a rucksack.
I could probably argue that if you're only getting an hour of collection time at 400 AGL, then there's alternatives to rucking that in there. And I think that the more and more in the next 18 months, we're going to probably see 3 or 4 airframes that are going to change our mind on what is doable from a fixed wing versus a multi-rotor and vice versa. And, all that.
Well, even the multi-rotor version of the Believer, which is the slightly longer wingspan one made by the other factory. Sorry, what is it, Mark?
The Fighter.
It's not a Fighter. We've got 2.
It's called.
I can't remember what it's called.
motor on the front.
They fly for 2.5 hours.
That's the one that looks like the Alti, right? The Alti.
No. It's just a slightly bigger believer.
But I thought it had the 4 props on it too. Doesn't it have the 4 props?
Yeah. Yes, it does. It's separate lift thrust.
Yeah.
But what that allows you to do is it allows you to fly in deep valleys and then and when you're surveying a deep valley place and use the props to give you tighter near stall. Well, basically, effective. The aeroplane would be stalling, so it
Just
allows
like Thunderbird 2. Fantastic.
What was So look at the Altel Dragonfish and airframes like that.
Was that $135,000 US?
130K. So where I live in Lee County, Florida. They bought one, and that's what was searching for that guy Brian. It's funny because that airframe, and I saw some in the comments, return the tail sitters. The tail sitters had their time. It's funny how now it's progressed into things, and then you had things like the EBX that came out, and I was expecting something new or something innovative in that kind of a technology of a flying machine, but there is still a place for the small millimeter wingspan foamy to do a job. The Believer versus an EB is funny conversation, but quite honestly, Mark's right. There are certain circumstances that machine is the best to use. So to say that
why wouldn't you fly in instead of yomping up the mountain? Why wouldn't you stand off at 10 or 15 kilometers and fly? Oh, the law, I suppose. But other than that,
say you're in South Africa and you can fly wherever you want, and you don't have restrictions. Or New Zealand. Let's say New Zealand, where there is no CAA or any restrictions.
Yeah, we know that. Yeah.
We know that. So let's say that you are there, and what are your options? Do you have equipment in a truck to get there? If you don't, what are you backpacking in? If you are, what's your mission and what's your quality? There's 5 or 6 options now at the table. You've got the foamy that you're going to bring in, like the EB, which is dependable. It can fly at altitude. It's been done many times at high altitudes.
Yes.
It does a good job. The Wingtra would be another one that packs up really well and has a really good system to it. The Gen 2 is fantastic. I don't know. The Dragonfish would not be the one that you'd bring. Would you bring, like the Anafi AI? Probably not, because you don't have those long loft times that you're looking for. An hour plus at those altitudes? Probably not. But, what are your options, Gary? What are you bringing?
Believer.
Well, here's
you would sacrifice ruck space and weight for the Believer, period.
No, because I'll be chucking it. I'll be down at the bar. I'll be chucking it from the bar.
You'll be 20 kilometers.
I'll let it fly for 3 hours. Yeah, I'll let it fly for 3 hours. It can fly for an hour.
And you're just going to end up mapping the entire mountainside anyway.
No, it's going up there while I have a light lunch and a couple of beers, and it'll come home and land.
I think the main difference that we like the Believer and the EB seems expensive to us is we know how to fly. Me and Gary know how to fly. And Bruce knows how to fly. Yeah. So if you want something that someone cannot fly and doesn't have to interact with the aircraft manually at all at any point, and they just want to get something out, they don't have to understand how to program a landing approach or any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Then the EB is like with emotion on a laptop, just cannot be beaten for ease to use. It's easy to fly an EB than it is to fly a DJI drone. It's that.
Do you fly it at all? Is there any hand?
No, there's no flying on. You know what? And to answer your question there, I agree with you. That's literally you're just a monkey pressing a button and throwing it in the air. And then you actually have you have your loiter spot, you have your land spot. It just does its job. Being in a mountainous terrain where you don't have LZs or maybe a place to put it down, it's actually not a good option because there's nowhere for it to go. That's where the VTOLs.
Yeah, if you've yomped up there, before you yomp up there, you better know that you've got enough room to
put it down.
Do your turns.
Yeah. Is it too heavy to catch?
you can catch an EB. I know people that were doing that, and they were telling me the stories. And it is, if you stand and you line yourself up correctly, you can catch an EB landing. It is possible, but I wouldn't want to personally, because it only weighs 1.2 kilos. I think it is. It's really light. It's not heavy, and it's already coming in on its nice glide scope, so it tends to turn off its motor well before it gets to where it's actually going to hit.
Yeah, but as you said before, if you misplace that stall
That
position, that's going to change things.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
that's those 3D robotics monkeys come back again. And Jess says
that's where it's going, though, right? Like, if you look at it in what we said, people don't want to learn how to fly anymore. People don't want to hire people that know how to fly. People don't want that. It's a liability. They want that push button thing. You know, there's a lot of companies like Skydio that's what they're selling everything on. Their marketing is about that, you know, you just press a button and there's no intelligence behind the sticks anymore. It's all on the airframe. That's where things are gone. You know, that's what it is. It is that better for what's happening? I don't know. I
pulled this out. This out here. Hands up. Who knows what this is? If you do, you're equally as dull as me. That's an autopilot. That had all the features that the EB had on. Some might say that's what they ripped off. Had all the features in 2000 and it was really nice if you'd written on it. I think it was
probably got Roman numerals.
Yeah,
2006.
And we had there was a very nice feature. We had shake to launch. We had it would always fly the same pattern based on where you took off. So if you want a bigger grid with your wing, you just walked 50 yards or 200 yards down the road to get your overlap, and you chuck it and then get your overlap that way, because that's before telemetry radios, before ground control stations, before all of it. Michael still has 3 on the shelf, and Jesse, the IMU, it was this guy had the first cube. I may have flown one of them away. He had an IMU and cubes, yeah. So it is, the EV was okay, but it was just an EPP wing. That's all it was. That's all it is.
I mean, like Kevin says, it's for people that can't fly at all, you know, and that's what it is. You're just a button pushing monkey. You can issue commands to the EV though. So on your laptop, you can bring up a menu of like emergency, so it can do a roll. So it does a barrel roll. So if you get attacked by a bird, you can hit barrel roll. You've got fast ascent, you've got fast descent. So it drops 30 meters every time you push the button. If you see an oncoming helicopter, for example, you can hit descent on the keyboard. It does it. You know, they do come with controllers, but they're stashed away. And if I remember correctly, Sensefly wanted you to go to Switzerland and spend 2 to 3 weeks learning to fly before they'll sign you off, like on an Xbox crappy controller. Because I absolutely hate those things for flying. They're terrible. Just can't deal with it. You better off
we've done Sensefly. Have we done everything we need to know about Sensefly?
I think so.
Done all that. Let's talk about another thing, which Mark. It's all about Mark this week. Enough about Mark. More about Mark.
Well, what the heck? I go away for 2 weeks working, and I come back, and it's all about me. I mean, what the hell?
Yeah. Because I noticed you talking about this, and it is a very fair thing to talk about. It's just when they're going to share this thing, the horse racing and drones and the incursions of airspace by drones. This chap got away. He got away with it. They didn't prosecute him. They tried, but the judge said, "Hey, CAA, that wasn't reckless, careless, or whatever."
Police. They told the police off, not the CAA.
Oh, they told the police, did they?
And it was a Crown Prosecution Service, and they turned around and looked at it and went, "There's not enough evidence here. So, police, you're going to cough up now." I think he got £58,000. Or he got his legal fees covered anyway. Whatever his legal
almost more than the people who got their collars felt for Gatwick, isn't it?
Well, his legal fees were 58, and CPS said, "Police, you're paying that." Yeah, because if you scroll through it, then Gary, if you scroll,
all right, yeah. What am I looking for?
So I've just told us there. So this was one of the race courses, and basically, there you go. It's just there, right at the top. That's 58 in legal fees, and the judge said the police had committed an apparent misinterpretation of the law.
Yeah.
So it's very, very interesting. So basically, what they were doing is they were putting a drone up, they were filming a horse race, and at that point there, we don't know anything else, to be clear. However, but there are other people that are streaming this. So as a horse race is happening live, there's the M210. It's not over the race course. And then what they're doing is they're beaming the signal, and that signal is going to another group of people that could be betting on the races, for example.
Could be. Yeah,
Could be allegedly.
Yes,
could be allegedly. So they're and amazingly, the transmission from the drone to the handset to a van that's going to be on a 4G network, because 5G's wasn't around really much back then, at all, really, in 2018, 2019, 2020. 5G's only in cities still. The signal's getting to wherever it's going quicker than the live broadcast, supposed live broadcast from the actual race course. And people were putting their wonga down, allegedly, and therefore they could bet and win just by those milliseconds. So
why aren't people standing on the side of the track with their phones and making bets, because they've got zero latency when they're looking at the race directly, and they can make a bet through their phone, can't they?
Yeah, and phones aren't illegal on the racetrack or where you are.
Yeah. Well, what apparently, so as you go through the article, and it is really interesting, I do recommend people read it. It's to do with the angle the drone actually provides. So depending upon how you're looking at the finish, because that's what you're looking for, who's going to win, depending upon the angle of the camera, it reveals more. So because the drone's up in the air and at an angle X, it actually allows you to see what's really going on with the horses.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I know nothing about horse racing. Watching it, you see one horse, halfway through looks like the winner, and they finish last, and the horse who was in last is now winning. If it gives you an advantage based upon angle, then
not only that, it gives you it on the time as well. So it's about the time of the drone transmitting its data to those people placing their bet versus what those are seeing supposedly live from the race course. And because it's we're only talking like half a second delay here. We're not talking 10 seconds. We're not talking 20 seconds. So somehow the drone transmission is faster for the people to make enough of a bet as what it is before the actual race has just finished.
Well, it can only be digital things, but I've never put a bet down in my life, so I don't understand how any of it works. But it strikes me. Yeah, but I'm super ranty. Sorry, but it's just if that's enough to make a difference, then the system must be corrupt, surely.
Well, I think here in New Zealand, they close betting before the race starts. So that would be a non-starter. And if people are bitching about, they're gaming the system, well, then change the system.
Yeah.
Exactly. So if they wanted to, if the race courses really wanted to, and they really wanted to get rid of the problem, they could do it in an instant. They could actually make their systems live. Because if they've got half a millisecond, if they've got half a second delay in their system is the problem. Because how the hell, excuse my French, can a drone transmit faster to the ground for that signal to be shunted up again through another system? So it's already gone through one server because it's got to come down, go through the handset, go through a computer, shove it back up again through a 4G network. Vegas is not built on winners. I will say that, having been there. how can all that be quicker than coming from a pure dedicated system that they should have at the racecourse? All they have to do is eliminate that problem.
I don't think they can, depending on how they deliver it, because every time you pass that signal through another relay, the odds are, especially if they've got a net at desk and all that sort of stuff, it's going to be decompressed, compressed, decompressed. So you got a whole frames with the latency there, or possibly 2 or 3.
But then what might we be talking about? I mean, would we really be talking about a second?
It's less than that. It's less than that. It's hard. The difference between them, if you read the article, I think it's like just over half a second or something is the drone is faster, and that's enough for someone just to press a mouse button to go bin.
Well, I would have thought the latency of your internet connection would be the larger problem.
If you're there live with your cell phone, there's no latency like Bruce was saying before. Now, if it was a 5-minute hold between broadcast and the race, now all of a sudden that kind of changes things because no one else has that point of view. That's a discussion. But again, is that cheating? Obviously, it's not, because he won. So what I mean. Again,
sorry, I didn't mean to. Sorry, Kevin. I didn't mean to.
Gary, it's okay.
I know. I am doing it, aren't I? But I know on the tennis that they put people in the grounds when they're on the telling phone to wherever they need to go. The umpires have to actually make an official tick in a box, as it were, on the score. They have to press a button, and I know there's enough lag from umpires that very frequently umpires go, oh yeah, right, oh, click that now. There's enough lag between them and then clicking the button to confirm the score and the reality of it when you're calling it in, for people to make bets on those milliseconds that it takes umpires to click the button.
So we couldn't say that never would an umpire be able to rig anything then for that.
No, obviously not.
Said gambling is rigged. There's no way gambling's rigged, and there's no way.
No, of course not. No.
Mixing sport and gambling, what could possibly go wrong?
No, nothing underhanded there.
It's really funny. So I've been to Vegas, and I was in Vegas. You walk through the casinos, which is just bonkers. So any of you guys been to Vegas?
Yes.
Yeah. It's bonkers. From the UK, it's just bonkers. You walk through this room that's 100,000 square feet, and it's just slot machines. It's just slot machines. But then you walk to one bit, and it's like live TV coming in from around the world, and it's just horse racing, greyhounds, horse racing, you name it. If there's a race going on in the world, it'll be in this area. And this area won't be small. Could be 50,000 square foot. Big 65s up on everywhere, and you're looking around going, holy. It's astounding. Yeah, and Vegas, of course, is famously made on winners, because that's how it was built. From all those people that won money and took it out.
Well, it's called gambling, not winning, and that's what it is. Yeah. But so if we do drone gambling, so we can talk about the drone racing league and what that really looks like, and is that completely legit? And there is some news, Gary, that we can inject into here with there was a partnership just announced and some stuff, some new technology. Some good people that I'm aware of that are doing that. I think that's interesting. Is that 100% legit? Drone racing. Is that something that could become at the level of a Vegas bet and bet makers on?
I don't know how the DRL has survived. I don't see it as being a particularly big spectator sport, but maybe I'm just too removed from it to see that. Because drone racing was going to be the next big thing like Formula One, but it's unless you're wearing the goggles and flying it, it's even with the production values that the DRL bring to it, I don't see that it's a mass spectator sport.
I've never watched. Have you? I've never watched one of the races.
Yeah, I've watched it. Listen, there have been times you're working at a hotel at 2 a.m. and drone racing league's on, and you watch like 4 or 5 of the races.
What's that? Would your company not put the porn on your bill?
Oh no, that's
the Christian Channel 54.
Christian only.
It was.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, I get a shock if you watch anything with nudity. So anyway, the situation that you watch it's probably better as, not to say it's a spectator sport, but, they're adding new technologies in football. Intel and Microsoft have their partnerships with camera angles and volumetric collections to give the person at home more experience and to see what's happening. It does, because it does become boring after a minute, because you don't understand the response times of that pilot. You don't understand the years of training to get that level. You just see them do these things and you're like, okay, this guy won again. That it's like, that's not really exciting. Plus, there's no skin in the game, because if they crash or clip a prop, which all of us do all the time, it doesn't mean anything. It just falls down and that's it. It's not like the fiery crash or anything like that.
I just thought of a wonderful opportunity here. Imagine if you integrated a simulator with the live action, so you could become part of the race you see on television. You can try and keep up with the people who are in the race. Wouldn't that be a wonderful new perspective on that and boost the popularity? Because people could be in the actual races.
I don't know if you remember, three or 4 years ago, they had the app that you were able to do on your PC and actually fly
but that wasn't along with the people that were racing live. It wasn't live.
It was on tracks that were real. So
but if you integrated the two, you're competing with your favorite drone racing star, and you might beat him. Of course, you're the only one that would know, because you're the only one that gets to see that.
But then again, who drone racing star? Does anyone in this room or anyone in chat know a star drone racer?
Captain Vanover.
Except Bruce. I'm sorry. Bruce.
I would personally know, but I know of.
I've met Banny. I've met Banny a couple of times. Banny UK, the youngster, but he's now an old man of 20 odd or whatever he is.
He's
too long in the tooth now.
Exactly.
He is. He was great in his younger years, but he might not even be 20.
A young man's sport. These old people don't have the stamina. Physically.
And Nurk. John's mentioning Nurk. Yeah, that's a name I'd know. But I'm afraid watching it leaves me. I'm a terrible FPV flyer. I can do it a little bit in the not crashing part. But
I think the problem is that those who can do it prefer to do it, and those who can't do it don't know what's happening.
It's not a very big spectator sport. I met a couple of them. One was on television and all that, but now he flies inspections and then he flies competition, because
he flies those inspections really fast.
Well, so that's the thing. If you look at some of the new inspection systems that are out there, they're literally FPV, just really, really slow.
The crop dusting guys here, using the big Agris systems, they kind of demand that people can fly pretty well, because if you can't get the turnaround times. You just don't get the efficiency out of the thing. You've got to rush the thing back, hand flying it, and land it and turn it back round again.
Yeah, Tim crashed his Agris doing weirdo trick things.
Weirdo.
He was trying to freestyle it.
I don't understand.
Yeah, but if you...
I don't understand I do not understand I don't understand the Agris drone. I don't understand any crop spraying drone that carries 20 litres. It makes no sense at all. Versus a tractor that you can fill up and do the whole field or half a field.
The only place it really makes sense is in really steep ground, that when you bring the crop duster off. But if it's at all flat here, it's relatively cheap as chips to get the man.
Do you know how much they charge? We can go in a whole hour conversation about agricultural usage and lack of actual usage. Do you know how much crop dusters charge versus what it would cost to do it with a drone?
They're about the same price per
well, it's a lot less, because when you talk to the larger companies, especially like the conglomerates like Monsanto's and stuff, that's a different story. But when you go down into like Midwest Iowa, they have people that have been doing it for 30 years, and they're charging $3,000 for this 6-month timetable.
Yeah.
I mean, like the guy on Independence Day. The guy on Independence Day with the biplane.
See, we don't even have we're a small island here. We don't have, the Iowa's probably the size of the UK.
I believe we can fit it there. We'll need an infographic quickly, Gary, with the UK inside of.
Oh yeah. Oh, hang on a minute.
Hold on.
I'll just get it now.
Of course, New Zealand pioneered the aerial application of agricultural chemicals and fertilizers because of our steep countryside. Yeah, we were one of the first. We build specific ag aircraft here in New Zealand. One of the few things we actually built in the aviation industry. But yeah, we were doing it many years ago with Tiger Moths.
Well, old I-Force 2D there lives. His flying site is a fantastic ag runway that's used. It's a steep one that's quite famous. It's on YouTube videos here, there, and everywhere that are not his, but of stuff landing there. No, they really what I was saying with that is, as you say, we could go on forever about the ins and outs of that. But the local guys here demand that you can FPV fly. Because that's if you can't, you don't get the turnarounds, and you don't make the money.
Just to put the Argus down, one more thing: how old is the Yamaha RMAX? And what can you do compared to that? Because 11 years ago, it had 10,000 hours on the airframe globally and can do 10 times more than the Argus.
It's more than 10 years old, though, isn't it?
It's more than that. It's like 18 years old at this point.
Yeah.
The capacity, the flight time, the cost, and the ROI is far superior. And anytime anyone brings up a new sprayer drone or anything like that, I just immediately think back to Yamaha. And
but they reinvented that, didn't they? And that still hasn't. There's a new 2020 version or 2019 version, I think, and that's still not gone. It still hasn't gotten nuts around the world, which surprises me. I suppose it's because it's a helicopter and they're sort of inherently.
Well, Skelter's done really well, right? Skelter has their
Skelter, but that's not much bigger, but it's bigger.
But if you look at a scale from an RMAX going up or adding tactical pods and things like that, absolutely capable because it's MTOS.
And that wonderful Swiss drone one with the meshing rotors, that just looks, it's just cool.
If they made the Yamaha one 3D capable, it'd be great. You could spray the underside of building roofs and things like that. But they're not thinking outside the box with that thing.
No, they're not, Bruce. They really aren't. They need to. That's absolutely right. I think more people need to think outside the box and kind of look more towards the ground versus up in the sky when it comes to. Yes, you do need to be a pilot, and that changes things, right? But anyway, I think that's the thing. You really need to. I think this whole industry has to take an accounting on reality again. I don't want to sound like another friend like Bruce or SUAS News people.
Yeah.
It's interesting what John says there. Helicopter scale well both ways, quads not so much. Yet we're seeing multi-rotor rapid urban transport machines coming on.
Yeah, no, the volocopter not so much because that's a multi-rotor by definition, but that doesn't count. Now, if you want to talk about an 8-prop machine like the Scorpion, that thing's the size of a Yugo. And it scales up just fine. Actually, that's still linear, and that one can lift a full. What is it? It's like a 4-stack pallet or 2 pallet.
Does it really scale as fine? I mean, the batteries are huge. It's huge.
But it's there. It's there, Gary. It's right at that top. I don't think you can go much bigger than the Scorpion, but I don't know. Boeing had that one that was it had square steel tubing. That's how large it was. And then there was the one that was working on the Choctaw Nation that I think was the size of a Volkswagen.
Just a Chinook style helicopter, and I've done with it.
Well, who's the company, Gary, that you've had on before that has the Chinook style? It's the two. I believe it's It's Ernest Youngblood's company. He has Kurt Shingwood. No, Kurt Shingwood.
But you end up in the world of having to do rotor balancing and tracking and all that sort of thing if you're really getting into it.
I'm sorry, real engineering in real engineering. Yeah, okay.
They're not as set and forget as a multi-rotor, are they?
Multi-rotor, stick prop on helicopter. Oh crap! I've got to balance everything, make sure it's right.
Yeah. Well, I think that one has some, to use the term, legs. It'll get off the ground because it's actually usable.
1,000 kilos on the Scorpion.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was 1,000 kilos.
That's nearly a ton.
Yeah, that's right. The Bell Nexus helicopter, didn't Bell give up on the Bell Nexus? I thought they'd given up on that one already.
No, and Airbus is making a big push right now too again.
But Bell certainly gave up on the APT-70, or have done, which I think is a big shame because that had a fantastic, and that was a tail sitter. We mentioned tail sitters earlier, but that had a fantastic transition.
Where's Hiller in all this? I mean, Hiller were leading this whole market at one stage, and now they've just disappeared.
Yeah, who knew? Who knew? And well, I suppose if we're going to play this game, the electric R44 that's kicking about will probably be the.
But now we've just crossed that imaginary line between toys that have been enterprise and commercialized versus actual, certified airframes. If you have the ER44, that's a helicopter that is just run by battery. We've had this, and you guys have talked about this a lot. There's major distinctions between unmanned, air taxis, all that, eVTOL, whatever you want to call it. That's a big difference, Gary.
It was quite interesting on LinkedIn, the place I like to do fishing. Yeah. A chap who is the man from the Civil Aviation Authority in the UK, who's charged with being in charge of these things. He's not actually a direct connection of mine, but he started going on about it. And I said that, you can shoot me down now. You three can shoot me down. I said that a large amount of these platforms cannot have a man in the loop for parts of their portions of flight because a man cannot do it. So that those portions of flight, the transitions and things like that, will have to be autonomous. You can't. There's nothing you can manipulate to make it happen. He just says, okay, there'll be a man there. But that's really all that man's going to do is press a big red button to fire the parachute, isn't it? And then eventually, go on.
Okay, so if you're going to have a man for transition, so just take Virgin Galactic. They had a man for transition. Get it wrong, that aircraft comes out the sky because sadly they did, didn't they? And they had two people badly injured, and that was to do with the transition maneuver. You're right. You need automation to deal with it. Something like a cube might work.
Gravity wins.
Gravity does win.
I was thinking it.
Just keeping it reality based. I apologize ahead of time. Just look at what happened last year when you have a company like Bell Helicopter, right? Bell. Let's just say the world's best, arguably, or one of the world's best helicopter manufacturers. Their Valor, the V280, wasn't advanced enough to get that official title of next generation of the Osprey. So you're taking a company that's has billions of generation, millions of hours of R&D and actual airtime, hundreds of thousands of hours of flight testing of what they were doing, wasn't able to put something in the air that was considered technologically more advanced than where the military wanted to be. That is what people really need to do their reality check on a lot of this stuff. And you got to do the smell test of saying, okay, does this garage company out of Kansas City have what it takes to deliver what a company like that is missing? And that 1 in 100 billion chance, yes, but in reality, probably not. And that's kind of what you need to think when
That's what they said about Apple back in the 70s.
That's what they said about
IBM. Yeah, guys in a garage, I can't possibly compete with IBM.
I use that literally because that's what happens. That 1 in 100 billion chance. Tesla and SpaceX and that.
Well, the biggest tails. Can I just say that the biggest tail sitter aircraft in the world is the Falcon 9. It's the biggest tail sitter. It's just
True.
bonkers.
I do call it. Do you say it's really a tail sitter though? Like it does land, takes off and lands on its tail. Yeah, by definition. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tail sitters are in. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. Yay! I hadn't thought of that.
Starship will be the biggest. I can't wait to watch that. I want to see that. Like, why doesn't Elon just go to the freaking moon right now? Like, why doesn't he just go do that?
South African space program's going very well.
They're going to use letter.
I think if Amazon keep trying to delay NASA, I think he'll get to the point where he'll go, the craft is ready, I'm sending it. Without people on it. Without people on it, I reckon he'll send.
We're going to the moon. I don't need one. What permission does he need?
He doesn't. He actually doesn't.
The FAA will be very cross.
When the Texas infrastructure is finished, that's his property. That is SpaceX's property. There's no law against him sending a ship into orbit.
The only thing, he has
to FAA clearance goes through the airspace.
FAA permission to launch, but they won't stop it because they'll just go, it's a launch.
Yeah.
SpaceX will just go, we're doing a launch.
Oh, yeah, BT dubs, we're going to the moon. See ya.
I mean, at the minute, this is going slightly off topic. I do apologize.
This is the topic.
So, SLS.
You said tail sitters.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, tail sitters. So Amazon with their Blue Origin.
Autonomous.
Again, it's autonomous. It's a tail sitter. But sadly, it looks like Blue Origin, because they're not supplying the engines yet for Is it SLS? They've got a delay on sending the engines for yet. So there's problems there as well. It's just crazy. And yet Amazon are just lobbying and complaining about SpaceX. They're actually going to put back the American space race if they're not careful against places like China.
That's awesome.
We're not worthy. Think Flight's in the room. Sorry, I had to interrupt you. Hello, Think Flight. We're not worthy. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful work on. I forgot. Chronoplans. I love it.
I thought they'd fly higher than that.
Yeah, yes, that's right. Yeah. But as far as it's in comparison to tail sitter, it's a rubbish tail sitter. But wonderful work, and I really want, dear viewers, if you don't, just subscribe to ThinkFly. Just subscribe. Just do it. It's fantastic stuff. Some of the most exciting, other than Bruce's stuff, obviously they can't beat Bruce. I mean, that just goes without saying. Or actually, Ron. It's actually Ron who we all watch on Bruce's channel in reality.
Yeah, you can easily beat me. I mean, they do with a big stick after the filming's over every weekend.
Yeah. But some wonderful stuff and some really clever thinking. And it pains me to say it's bloody clever young people. I hate young people.
Oh,
so
why are you so anti us? Why are you against us young people?
I still identify as a young person. Okay, I still identify as a young person.
To be honest, right? All of us here are 21. The only thing that's stacked on top is the year's experience on top of that. So we're all 21 with plenty of years' experience stacked on top.
I'm 21 many times.
No. I a lot of the channels that I look at, like ThinkFlight, just people do rant on about what Generation X, Y, whatever it is they say, and hipsters and all that sort of thing, and they know nothing. And
this is the man with the beard.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
and I drank IPA.
He's a barista with an accent. That's all Gary is.
Hipster thing. But no, they rant on about youngsters, and it's like, well, that's rubbish. Just look at the clever stuff they're doing. It's just mind blowing. It's absolutely mind blowing, and I'm glad of it. As iForce 2D is also here. He's an old duffer. Relatively, sorry, Chris.
The fact your mind has been blown, but your skull is still intact, speaks a lot about the size of the charge, doesn't it?
fell into that, didn't I? Yeah, it's very off topic, but the amount of engineering that you see done and stuff done is.
While we're on the topic of off topic,
yeah.
What about Boeing? Yeah, brickbats float and brickbats sink and bouquets rise. What are Boeing doing with that pilot who's now going to get 200 years in prison or something as a result of the failures?
Oh yeah.
It starts at the top, safety though, doesn't it? It starts at the top. You don't go down the chain until you find the lowest point of resistance and prosecute that person.
Are you new to this game? You've not been involved in the aviation industry.
Oh yeah, that must be it. That must be it. Yeah.
That's really scary. So just so I'm right on this. The pilot knew there was a problem.
But he had a boss.
Did he tell the boss?
Yes, I believe.
When that case, he's clear.
But hold on a second. I don't know, and that's what's coming out. All I know is that when you spend or you have to pay $2 billion in fines, someone's going to jail.
Yeah, but if he told his boss, then surely and he can prove that he told his boss, then surely they can't. His boss.
What if he told his boss, keep this quiet, but I think this is happening?
But didn't a couple of aviation authorities also say, hang on, we don't quite like this aeroplane? I don't think it was just Boeing that.
I don't understand how anyone can trust Boeing again, especially if they bring the 737 MAX.
This is true story. I've flown a whole bunch of times recently. I've checked, is it a MAX or not? And if it is, I don't take the flight.
Yeah, I wouldn't fly on a MAX.
I wouldn't fly on a MAX.
Yeah, it's lipstick on a pig, that plane.
You can't. Really, when United CEO said that when they re-released it, he'd be the first on it. I was like, why? Why would you even commit to that? You know what I mean? How do you do that? But look at all the millions of hours they've flown, Gary, and look at all the proof that they have.
Oh well, I mean, shit falls downhill. Yeah.
Reminds me of the Dash 8. You know the Dash 8 has got 1,000,001 little different fins hanging off the back of it. Obviously, there's something hasn't quite worked out, so they've added a fin here, and then that didn't work, so they put another fin. It's like a porcupine on the back of that damn plane.
Yeah. There hasn't been I don't think you guys paid attention to the U.S. news, but there's been a slight uptick in GA accidents. There was one in Southern California.
Quite an uptick, yeah.
One in Southern California. There was one just this morning in Texas. I believe it looked like a G5 size private jet, but that was the one. If you want to Google that one, that was today. There was one last week, one in Southern California that killed I believe a UPS driver. But still to this day,
it did kill the UPS driver.
Zero fatalities from drones. I just want to point.
Yeah, but it's the butterfly effect of all those little multi-rotor propellers. Butterfly effect.
We should say commercial drones. Commercial multi-rotors. No doubt.
No, the recreational use of multi-rotor drones has never resulted in a single death.
Only a matter of time. Yes,
only a matter of time.
Yes, but during that time, you're more likely to have been injured by falling space rock or killed by falling space rock.
Or a GA pilot from the sky.
Exactly.
So I've been last 2 weeks. I've been busy doing a lot of inspection work, and I went to one company, and then we were talking. It's just about safety and stuff. So I says, well, in the last 21 years, I says, no one's been killed by a commercial drone. I says, here it is. No one's been killed by one. No deaths. I says, can you show me another industry like that? Because a handyman, they have injuries and get killed. Farming's really bad. Forklift drivers, 3 or 4 a year. It's.
Yeah, now, I do have a factual incident that happened to drone pilots that I was aware of. They weren't mine, but there was a drone pilot that was hit by a car. That was a fatality.
Just going to say that.
Yeah, so that was a fatality that happened. And outside of that, you're absolutely correct.
They're incidental, though.
What industry has that?
Yeah. They're not caused by the drone, though. It's like there's a couple of people who got electrocuted, I think, trying to recover a drone, recreational multi-rotor drone. Yes. And so it's all incidental, not actually caused as a part of the actual drone itself hasn't caused the problem. It's the support operations.
Although I suspect when RID comes out in America, the amount of pilots that get shot, I'm happy to predict that within a year of rig coming out, if it comes out and they don't shortcut the rules or anything, and the FAA stick to the proper procedures and rig comes out, when it gives away locations, I'm willing to bet that in America, within a year, a remote pilot gets shot.
No. Look, the FAA have already nailed this. They've said just call the police.
All right.
Did you see the ASTM letter that I put in? I put in this tip lines thing. Patrick was moaning at me to put a tip lines thing in, and I didn't want to do it. And the reason I didn't want to do it because I thought it would just fill up with spam. And thankfully, though it will now, but thankfully it didn't. But we had a few tips. One of them, and not only but including the genuine letter from the man from the ASTM telling the FAA, hey, you cannot have that as the GPS standard because they were demanding too much accuracy. The FAA have been leaning on Google and Apple and it's not the location standard for the airframe, it's the location standard for their ground control station where you are. And they've been leaning on Apple and Google to say, hey, why can't you make them more accurate? Hurry up. So ASTM said 50 feet is all it's going to be. The FAA want 15 feet. And the FAA have gone through a procedure. I should have read up about this and thought about it before I started going down this way. But they're trying to circumvent the whole. They're trying to get that changed, but circumvent it by we made a spelling mistake, sort of an amendment, rather than we're going to tell you about the mistake we made. So there's lots of shenanigans going on.
Is this vertical position?
Yeah, Z. You're right.
Yeah. So you don't know whether the operator is standing on the ground or 50 feet above the ground. That'd be a problem.
Yeah, it's a Z. It's a Z. Yeah. You're exactly right.
So if you see a man suspended in space, it's probably the drone flyer.
Yeah, well, he's got more worries about than flying his terrorist drone, hasn't he? MD-87.
Well, the thing is, you're less likely to be attacked by muggers on stilts if you fly high enough.
yeah, because you've got to calibrate your stilts, haven't you? If you're going to go out and get them, you've got to make sure your stilts are right.
Let's just talk about that. Well, I know there's other topics to talk about, but MD-87, that's an extremely old. When they were in like the late 80s. So what year was that airframe made? And we're talking about drones that were just produced, have 100,000 hours on them from training, research, and they're worried about them. But you have an airframe, an MD-87 that's flying right now that could have how many hundreds of thousands of hours on it? What's the, after 25 years of flight?
And it's not just the risk, it's not the probability, but the consequence as well.
21 people were on the plane, which that seems interesting because I think won't they hold like 75 or 80, maybe a little less. But anyway, the consequences are ridiculous compared to flying a 7 kg airframe with a LiDAR on it that I can't fly more than 2 kilometers away because it's only a matter of time.
It's only a matter of time. Well, the AirMap man has popped up again today in a new venture with drone deliveries and urban air mobility. And that's a bit of a worry. Yeah, it's a bit of a worry.
Now, why is it a bit of a worry, Gary?
Oh, because it will just be the same game plan as the original game plan, which was make sure you pay to fly over if someone flies over my farm, then I will get money.
Let's just get to the point, air rights. And that's what they want to talk about. And that's what they want people to have their cone of ownership, just like buying air rights on buildings, just like buying all that. It's such a nasty, slippery slope. I'd love to talk to, our lawyer friend Ruprecht on that because it's really nasty when you look at it.
That's never going to fly, though, is it? Because if you're going to provide a facility for unmanned aircraft, you have to provide it for manned aircraft, and the general aviation community is not going to have a bean of that.
No.
Well, hang on. What's the time? What's the time in the UK? There may or may not be something. There may or may not be something that's going to be on the site in under an hour's time, talking about because it's to be released at 001. UK time.
So we have to stay in So we have
Sorry?
to stay on till we have to stay on.
We have to
till
stay
I
on.
know it's great. No one's watching. There's a proposal for what can I saw no reversers deployed. Oh, did it go off the end of the runway then?
Yeah.
Okay. There's one group is proposing a UK minister for drones for lower airspace, and it's
for
a
God's
group
sake.
Oh, geez.
that when you then ask, what am I supposed to say? Because I'm supposed to be a journalist or something. I'm supposed to
Is
say
it
when I asked industry experts about this group that are in the UK, single one of us had never heard of them. Because I hadn't heard of them. I was like, who the hell is this?
I'll pass.
No, it's not RPAS. It's not RPAS. It's not RPAS.
Oh.
It's not RPAS. It's not
DSL?
RPAS.
Will there be a minister for hanging out the washing?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's ridiculous. It's absolutely getting ridiculous. I mean,
But they've got themselves in front of grown-ups and are convincing grown-ups that
Really?
things should happen. Well,
I
they
think-
say they have their
well,
press
you're
release.
going to have to rip them a new one, aren't I? I'm going to have to
Yeah.
find out who they are, do a video, and rip
Well,
them a new one.
001, I'm not sure actually what time I did time it to go because I have terrible.
Well,
I'm
I'm
so
gonna
professional.
have to get off pretty soon.
All right, yeah, that's probably good. We've been here for an hour and 20. We should probably do the same.
I just want to say that it's been too long. Thanks for the invite, and I always appreciate sharing, and you guys make me feel much younger. I appreciate that. When I said,
We do our best.
yes, Bruce, always.
Twice as young.
That's it. I appreciate everything all three of you guys do all the time in the industry and everything you put out there. Especially Bruce, not Gary.
Yeah, of course.
But
of course,
yeah,
Bruce.
yeah, and Mark, it's always
Come on,
good.
man.
You guys be awesome and keep doing what you're doing because a lot of people do pay attention to what you do say. And I think the industry needs this every week, and they need to hear. I think they need to hear more about what's legitimate in reality versus the marketing that's put down people's throat all the time. So I think it's important.
I think the reality is it's the quiet people that are plodding on. We need to lift them up more. There's a lot of people that are doing amazing things, and
Absolutely.
That's what needs to be.
They don't have a marketing team. They don't have the effort. They don't have that. That's because that's not their focus. Their focus is changing the world for the better. And that's exactly what they're working on. Their heads are down and they're getting it done. The ones that make the most noise and put the most out there, it's another 18 months until you might see that vaporware that they talked about. So
an empty vessel's often the loudest or something like that, isn't it?
Is that how that goes? Is that how it goes?
Don't you talk about Harry and Meghan like that.
Oh, wow.
Well, good news.
And I do have to say, I do have a crush on the Prime Minister of New Zealand. I think she's pretty awesome, even though she's made a couple missteps recently. I
can probably hook you up if you like.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure. You guys, there's only, a couple thousand of you there anyway.
No, there's about 6 of them. Yeah, there's 6 or 7 of them there. He sees them in the shops every other day. Yeah, every other day.
They go shopping together.
Yeah. I need to thank Kevin for something.
Yes.
Thanks for taking Meg and Harry off our hands. Thanks.
Oh, don't mention it. Yeah, we did a trade. We did an exchange program, so we took that.
No worries. What have we got? Hell, it was worth it.
Kevin, thanks very much for coming. We'll see you again soon. Look after yourself, and we'll all find something to go. If you're going now, Kevin, or otherwise stay. Otherwise, go away. Whatever.
You can be so decisive when you want to be, Gary.
Oh yeah, I tell you, the cat makes the most noise. That's it for Friday. Yeah, I said again on LinkedIn, my favorite place to annoy people. I think I used to say that the industry reinvented itself about every 18 months. I think it's a little bit longer. I think it's about 20 months now is my sense of reinvention whenever it gets reinvented again. But we're going through a particularly heavy spell of BS at the moment within the industry.
Those are my initials. Be careful with their use.
There you go. I don't know. What's your take on the cycle of things, Bruce? You're a man that has good thoughts on this.
Oh yeah, it's a pendulum swing. It is cyclic, and because people grab lots of money and come up with lots of promises, and it all slowly disappears into the vapor of the ether, and then they come back for another run. And investors have got very short memories sometimes, or maybe there's new investors because the old ones have gone broke because they invested in the wrong things. But yeah, it's always going to be cyclic. And the trouble is, nobody's cashing the reality check yet, but it'll happen.
That'll happen. Well, how will that look when that happens, do you think?
It'll be like we'll see drones becoming more mainstream, but we won't see these more drone delivery to your door and things. Once it was like the year of the internet or year of the LAN. Remember that, when the computer was next year we're going to have LANs everywhere. It never happened. Well, it did happen, but it was so gradual that there wasn't this big watershed thing where suddenly everyone plugged a LAN into their computer and it became part of a network. It happened over a long period of time. That's what's going to happen with drones. And of course, the stupid concepts get weeded out during that period of time, and you end up with just the rational things that are actually commercially viable.
I'm just typing. We try to call them out, but hardly anyone listens. But it's amusing putting down, and that's also, again, as I said, if you ever see in SGS News, if you ever see a big bold claim, a big bold marketing forecast in there, it's because it's made me laugh so much that I put it in there, and I trust people.
You need a little icon you can put in there, it's a sort of an irony icon or a satire or taking the piss icon, just a small one that no one will notice except those who know.
Yeah, but I like to think that SUS News readers know. They do. They know.
Both of them?
So
both
of them.
Both of them.
Or half of them. That's right. Yeah. Well, with the show off your head, and the ridiculous thing is we have more people read our daily email than our members of AUVSI. Yeah, AUVSI are quite a powerful organisation.
Yeah, but look how much they charge.
That's what I've done wrong. If only I make it really expensive, then yeah, no, it's ridiculous. It's all the claims people make. Just ridiculous. Now, what have you two seen before we go? What else is there out there in this week?
Nothing.
Well, in the UK, it looks like Gatwick has. So I've heard on the grapevine. I've not checked, but apparently Gatwick is now UTM. So they're on the. Yeah. What? So Altitude Angel, as far as I'm aware, you can now request the flight in the app. You don't have to go to NAT's website to request to fly inside the flight restriction zone, which was quite interesting.
And AFI4G, yes, but isn't that? I'll come to I4C's Theranos debacle. Yes, make off ridiculous claims. Yes, well that is like the poster child for it, really, isn't it? And Howard saying an AFI4G claiming the first, it has been done. It has, yeah. But I think the NAFI AI is, I think it's possibly the first off the shelf one you can buy. I don't know. Is it the first off the shelf, or can you think of another off the shelf one?
Well, no, because off the shelf is a cube.
No, but you've got to wire stuff up, and
it's off the shelf.
Yeah, all right, then how should I put that in another way? But actually, you can't buy. You can't actually buy an NAFI AI at the moment, can you? So no. It's not on any. It's not on any shelf.
If you like so-called mass-produced drone, then yes.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Well, no, because you could do because there was the hack you could do to the Discovery.
No, it's a hack. A hack is a hack. It's not a. It didn't come with that. But we'll rush back to Gatwick. Are NATs not taking over responsibility for altitude again?
Well, altitude
no,
ain't
taken.
Yeah, well, as far as I'm aware, it says firing up his phone.
Yes, but I think that's because I think Altitude Angel are able to offer that service.
Yes,
because I believe NATs are taking back control of Gatwick from the consortium that had it for air traffic services. But I should have asked. Well, we should ask Richard. We'll ask Richard about that. I think that's what's happening. Which will be
I'm just looking
pretty positive thing for the UK if that happens.
Well,
if that's taken out of the other company's hands.
Where the hell's where's
Gatwick? Is south of London, mate. South of London. And then there's a bit of seaside there, and it's France.
I can't find it for the life of me. It's embarrassing. It's rather embarrassing when I can't find Glasgow. No,
Glasgow.
no, not Glasgow.
Turn
Sorry.
your phone up the other way. You're up in Glasgow,
Oh God, where the hell is it?
south of London. London's a big place in the bottom right-hand corner of the United Kingdom. Right. So have we run? This is bad news. Have we run?
So also Brussels. There's a Brussels airport. They've invested in a UTM as well. So they've staked shares into a UTM because they see the potential to make money. They're all going to start doing it.
Well, the FAA being called out on GPS accuracy and the whole process is very, very, very interesting.
I think the FAA moaning about GPS accuracy. What they should have done is Google and Apple should have gone. Can you go and talk to the GPS company, please? Which one is it? SatNav.
Well,
is it? It's called.
I believe and as ever in all these conversations, as soon as the FCC is invoked, you're in trouble. I believe even the FCC have said to the FAA, "No way, Jose." And the 5G companies have pulled back because they're not even through the 5G network and using differential stuff. Even they are reluctant to sign on board the FAA's standard. So they really do seem, from a technical point of view, to have, just made it up, buggered it up, left, right, centre. So time will tell. Patrick was supposed to actually get a story to me yesterday, but there's more coming on the remote ID stuff out of the US. I don't know.
One final bit then. So CE markings for the UK at the minute. There's no body that's been given responsibility, if you like. So the CAA doesn't do the CE marking. So when a drone comes out, it's not the CAA that will check. There's no body to deal with the CE markings yet. There's still nothing there.
But they'll come from Europe, won't they? The UK surely isn't qualified to actually give them out.
No. We'll have a UK CE marking.
No, you won't. No, you won't, because they pulled that. They pulled that whole idea. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen because
I missed that.
No, it's not going to happen. The whole, you were going to have a new UK standards body.
Yeah.
Been pulled. The
I
whole
bet
thing's
cost.
been pulled.
I bet because of cost.
Because any product made in the UK would then have to be put through compliance in the EU and compliance in the UK. So you'd have 2 times compliance. So why the heck would you make anything in the UK? Why would you do it?
Wouldn't.
No.
You wouldn't.
So, no, they pulled that. They pulled out about a month ago,
that.
I think. A month or 2 months ago. The whole thing was pulled. Yeah.
I've completely missed it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a bit slow to the party, aren't I?
You are. But, we knew that. Right then.
But I've got something. I saw it the other day on the Twitterverse. Apparently, Airways New Zealand tweeted, "Talk to us about AirShare in Madrid. With AirShare on board, ANSPs can manage UAV flight requests and activity in real time to integrate drones safely into the national airspace. Check out how it's being used." It seems Airways New Zealand is claiming that they've sold or supplied their UTM to Madrid to manage.
So which island is that? North or South Island?
What? Madrid.
Madrid. Yeah.
I think it's somewhere in Spain. But so have they made a sale? Because that's their whole end game with this thing, is to sell this service, become one of the multitude of UTM providers that's going to take over the world and clip the ticket on every flight. Well, apparently they've managed to convince the Spanish that they are stupid enough to spend money or use this thing. So that's interesting shift.
There's 2 or 3 homegrown Spanish systems vying for that.
Yeah. And there's Altitude Angels. So many in the market. Why would you choose the New Zealand one, apart from the fact maybe they just got a really good salesman there and just sold them on a dream? Who knows?
So, look, iForce 2D's got a question for you. Mainly for Bruce. All right, only for Bruce then. So
Before you go,
plane,
question
one motor
management?
can motor out.
Control flaps. With what? With control flaps, please. Is there anything useful that can be done to improve flying with one motor? Not really, I wouldn't think, because unless you use up, if you've got up flap, you could always use it as a lift spoiler on the side where the still has the active motor, so it will counter the roll or the yaw effect of losing one motor.
You'd have to have separate. If you have separate ailerons rigged, then the one where the motor has died could create a bit of uplift, and then use the rudder
because if you use down aileron, you're going to increase the adverse yaw because you have more drag on that wingtip, and it'll be turning towards the dead engine, so it's going to aggravate the situation.
Yeah, but oh yes, you're right. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, so if you've got flaps, if you can use up flap to spoil the lift on the wing that still has the motor going, that will create a little bit of drag, but also more importantly, it'll tend to balance the lift a little bit.
Bring the nose
You can use the rudder to keep it flying level, straight.
But also, what you can do is when you use down flap, if you've got twin engine, are you assuming the motor's in front of the flaps, you get a revectoring of the prop wash downwards, which gives you massively shorter takeoff runs because it'll just basically almost jump off the ground because the prop wash is deflected downwards, and the Newtonian reaction is to push the aircraft up.
Well, that's what's that YF thing where the engines are high up on the wing.
Yeah, and they use Coander effect over the top and redirection under the bottom.
But then if you do that, if you have an engine out when you're in your stall position, then you are in a bit of trouble.
Gravity wins.
Gravity wins. It's always going to win that title, isn't it? Yeah, because that's why they struggled. There was an American version of that with jet engines, wasn't there? Because I think the Russian ones, the fans could have it the other way around. But anyway, they struggled to get it certified because if it had an engine out at certain parts of critical flight, then you're in deep trouble.
If you're going to have flaps like that and you want to get that extra lift, you're better to have multi-segmented flaps so you get enough of a curve that you get the Coander effect on the top as well as the deflection on the bottom. That'll give you much more lift because Coander effect obviously will create that low pressure area right across the top, whereas otherwise you get a breakaway and just get turbulence, so effectively the top of the flap is stalled and it won't be adding to the lift.
And if you're going after stall, bigger motors.
A big one in the middle that spins at rotors.
Yeah. Well, but we
angle the whole wing.
But we have the advantage of tail sitters. We're back at tail sitters. We have the advantage of being able to overpower things tremendously compared to our manned.
Not that we'd ever do that.
No, never, ever. When I used to go back and forth to the UK more, there's the aerial photography meet, and some guys way overpowered a Bixler. They had like a motor was like coffee cup size on the back of it for shits and giggles. And my lads remember it muchly because the first time they tried, they throttled up, and this thing just went poof off the back of the Bixler. And that's the biggest thing they remember about that trip to the UK was all these blokes diving out the way of this motor that had let go. But yeah, overpowering. But you can overthink things, I think, Chris, with all that sort of.
It's something to think about, isn't it?
Yeah, I can definitely overthink it. Just more power, as Bruce said. But yeah, it all gets complex, doesn't it? It's a tricky juggling sort of a thing. Just buy a believer. They're fantastic. Anyway, it's almost like I work for them. Right, is that it?
Link in the description. Link in the description.
Yeah. Going once, going twice. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, if you've been watching, thank you very much wherever you are in the world. I hope you're fit, hale and hearty, because I think things are getting bad in some places. Look after yourselves. We'll see you again, 2100 GMT next week. Take care. Bye-bye for now. One button, two buttons.